Hello. Hello. How are we? It's Monday. Justin, hi.
Hi, Nick. What's going on, buddy? How are you?
I'm good. I'm eating jelly beans. Yeah.
I'm eating Skittles, berry flavored.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Speaking of
Well,
jelly beans, do you like the Starburst jelly beans that they come out with every year?
Justin, I bought a bag of those last week. They're already gone. Yeah. They're
I
already
know
gone.
I'm on my second bag too.
Yeah, they're just too good. Yes, I love them.
Me too.
Um welcome guys. Hi everybody that's in the chat so far, and if you're not in the chat and you're just watching, hello. We're back. It's Monday. It's
Oh, we're
Monday.
ready.
The boys are back in town. I don't know if you guys saw us last week on Ken's channel. I saw some of you guys in the live chat for that discussion. That was a very fun video with Ashley and Ken, where we talked about our top 10 scariest scenes in horror. Um,
So much fun.
actually, Justin, it's funny. That video made me do something last night. Last night,
Oh,
I wanted to watch The Conjuring. I hadn't watched it in a
oh,
while. Yeah, I hadn't watched it in a while, and I said, I'm gonna watch The Conjuring. Well, I know you're in Kentucky, so you're not far from me at all. Did you get thunderstorms last night too?
I did. Yes, I did.
Yeah. So
Yes.
we were getting hit with some thunderstorms last night. So about midnight, we turned off all the lights and it was storming. And I was like, let's watch The Conjuring. And I'm gonna be honest with you guys. For the first time in years, while watching that movie, I was actually getting kind of scared. I was. I think the
That
mood
always
was
gets
just
me.
perfect. Yeah, I was like, oh God, this movie. Ah,
That one always gets me. I actually thought about watching it yesterday too. I might put that on after the chat tonight. So
great movie. Great movie.
yeah.
Rudy has his copy of Lords of Salem on its way. Nice. Yeah, Rudy hasn't seen it.
Nice.
Yeah, he's
Oh, I
never
love
seen it.
Lords of Salem. Absolutely love Lords of Salem.
Let me just tell you
So
something, Rudy. It's going to blow your mind. It's very wild.
it's wild, but I think well, it's it's actually my second favorite Rob Zombie film after House 1000 Corpses. But I think it's his best looking movie. Like it's just unique. He directed it differently compared to a lot of his other movies.
Yeah, the
So
cinematography, it's gorgeous. It looks
it is
gorgeous.
gorgeous. Music's great. Yeah, atmosphere's great. Hey Sam, how are you?
What's up,
Hey
man?
Christina. Hey everybody. Hey Rudy. How's everybody doing?
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you guys are here tonight. One, because you just like to hear us talk for whatever reason, and we appreciate that you like to hear us talk. And two, because we're talking Stephen King today. And
Uh-huh.
Justin and I realized we've been doing this for almost a year, and we have never done an episode where we talked about our, top whatever Stephen King adaptations.
Yeah.
Funniest part about that is to make it even a little bit more difficult, we're only doing horror. So it's going to be our top 10 Stephen King horror adaptations. Because as I was talking to Justin before, a lot of people would say, hey, Stand By Me and movies like that, fantastic movies, but we are limiting this to solely just horror.
Yes.
So, what's up, Trev?
Um,
How you doing, man?
thank you,
Yeah,
Sam.
yeah. Thanks,
Sorry.
Sam. Yeah, yeah. Nice shirt. Yeah, yeah. And glad to hear you're doing well, Christina. Got
Yes.
Taco Bell. I haven't decided
I
what I'm
love
getting for
Taco
dinner yet.
Bell.
But Justin, I want
Yes.
you to start us off. Give us your number 10 Stephen King horror film adaptation and
All
why
right.
it's your number 10.
So this list will probably it'll probably always change. But my number 10, and the reason why it's number 10 is it's probably the one that I watched the least so far, but I love it. And it's one of the recent ones, and that is Doctor Sleep. So that is my number 10. Um, but I absolutely love this movie. And it's just so sad that it didn't do well at the box office. I think we've talked about it before. They didn't really market the movie very well. Um, I felt like there was a lot of Stephen King that came out that year, and Doctor Sleep kind of was the third one that came out. And I don't know if people were burned out at the time for Stephen King because we had Pet Cemetery and It Chapter Two, but Doctor Sleep is just fantastic, and I love this movie. I love Mike Flanagan as a director. I mean, huge shout out to Gerald's Game. It's not on my list, but I love that one too.
It's a
Just
good
one of my
one.
favorite directors.
Yeah.
And the cast is perfect. With Rebecca Ferguson standing out as Rose the Hat. I mean, she is amazing in this. She's creepy. Yeah, great performance there. And
Well, hi there. I
I
love Rose Hat.
I do too. And we got to talk about it. I love the fact that like Mike Flanagan down to a T was able to recreate the Overlook Hotel.
Oh yeah.
And
Yep.
I love it. I know some people kind of don't like the third act as much, but I loved the third act. I loved the fact that, Danny walks into the hotel and the lights light up
Yeah, he
and
says
everything
wakey
comes back.
wakey. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great.
Um, yeah, the Doctor Sleep, number 10 for me. Again, I love this. It's number 10, but I absolutely love it.
Well, you guys, by the way, hello Jimmy. What's up, man? Hello, Anthony.
Hello.
I saw you guys just popped in. Hello, hello.
And hello, John.
Um,
I saw his comment at the top. I forgot to say hello to John. So hello,
yes.
John.
Hello, everyone. We would
Hello,
only miss you
everyone.
guys. You may see Doctor Sleep on my list somewhere. I don't know. I mean, maybe. I think you guys that are fans of my channel know how much I adore that film. So we'll see. We'll see. Rudy, you better shut your pie hole. You don't know.
Oh,
You don't
Rudy.
know. Um, so coming in at number 10 for me is going to be a movie I loved as a child, and it actually scared the crap out of me as a child. And it's a movie that I'm afraid is going to get a remake sooner rather than later. I just know it probably will soon enough. And that is Silver Bullet.
Oh gosh. Oh, I love that.
Silver Bullet was one of my favorite werewolf movies as a kid. It was this, and it was American Werewolf in London that I just loved those movies. And I've never been somebody that's like big into werewolves. Like I was always more vampires when it came to those old fashioned, creatures. I liked vampires more. I also feel like there aren't a ton of great werewolf movies. There's a few, but I think there are more higher quality vampire movies, I think. And that's a shame because werewolf characters are really cool. But yeah, Silver Bullet was one that was near and dear to my heart as a child. And I haven't watched it in years, but I don't need to know that I still love this movie. So Silver Bullet's going to be my number 10, and I feel very, very confident in that. Justin, what do you think of Silver Bullet?
Well, I'm going to talk about it in a little bit, but I love it. It is definitely one of my favorite Stephen King adaptations, and quite it when I first saw it as a kid, I think it was on TV or we rented it. I can't remember, but I just remember it terrifying me, and I was like 6 years old, probably not supposed to be watching it. I don't know how I watched it, but um, there's
My
only
mom showed it to us as a kid. Like my mom
oh
was like, "You
really?
gotta
Yeah, I don't
watch
know
this."
how I saw it. I think it was TV, and I freaked out. Like it freaked me out. So, but you saw?
I,
Oh, your mom introduced it to you.
yes, yeah, she did. She loves King, loves King, and actually, it was really refreshing because I showed her Doctor Sleep last year around Christmas time when she was here for Christmas. She
Mm-hmm.
stayed for about a week, and one of the nights I was like, "I want to show you Doctor Sleep" because she loves The Shining, and
Yeah.
she sat through that 3-hour director's cut. My
Oh,
mother, who's
nice.
always on her damn cell phone, watched the entire movie, and after it was done, goes, "That was really good." And I'm like, "Oh, that's the validation I needed because you are like an old school Stephen King fan. So for you to watch this movie and say that was really good, I was like, yes, okay,
So,
I'm validated."
well, one of the I just and this is like just coming out of nowhere, like off topic, but I love the fact that like your mom introduced you to horror movies and she was watching them because my mom did the same thing. So,
Yeah,
like,
she was just, I think that both of us were kind of similar in the sense that my mom introduced me, but she wouldn't let me watch certain ones.
same here. Same
And
here.
if we did watch certain ones with some nudity or whatever, she'd cover my eyes. I could still
Yeah.
watch the movie, but she'd cover my
Yeah.
eyes for the nudity. So
Same here. Like there were certain ones I could not watch, like Halloween, obviously my mom introduced me to, and we share that bond together, me and my mom. But like Friday the 13th Part 2, she would not let me watch for a while, and I was like, "You let me watch the other Friday the 13th films," and now I know why she didn't want me to watch it when I was younger. But yeah, so
yeah.
things like
Um,
that.
Christina, she is a horror movie fan but not so much anymore. She loves the Conjuring movies though, but she doesn't keep up with like new horror.
Hmm.
But she got to see all these movies when they came out in theater. She was there for opening weekend of Halloween in 1978. She was there on opening weekend of Halloween 2, Halloween 3,
Oh,
Friday Part 1, Part 2, Part 3, The Fog. She saw all these movies in theaters and I on their their original run, which is just I'm so jealous of. Um, but yeah, she is a fan. And I show her things every now and then that she hasn't
yeah.
seen.
Same.
Um, she'll go, oh, let's watch a movie, and I'll say, well, hey, because she stays at my house a lot when she comes into town, and
Hmm.
I'll be, hey, I'm gonna show you this movie, and she's, okay, and some, a lot of times she doesn't care for it, but some of them she does care for. Doctor Sleep was one. Oh, hello. What is up? It is Bill. It is
Hey,
our
man.
friend Bill. Puts $4.99 in. Thank you so much, my friend. He says, "Hello, my dear friends. I have finally made it to a live stream. Yeah, we were missing you, man. I was like, where's Bill at? I haven't seen
Welcome,
Bill in a
Bill.
while. Bill actually saw the Batman. I have not seen it
Oh,
yet.
I haven't seen it yet either. I
I
want to
know
see it.
I haven't seen it yet, guys. So if you've seen it, no spoilers in the chat or
Please don't.
anything.
No
But
spoilers.
Bill said it's his favorite movie of all time. Uh,
That's
yeah,
awesome.
and I said that's high praise, man. He said, I'm telling you, it's my favorite movie of all time. So that is awesome. I love that you loved it so much. I can't wait. And thank you, thank you, thank you. We'd love to see you back in here. Be in the
Thank
chat.
you.
All right, Justin, number 9 Stephen King horror film adaptation.
So this isn't going to be the last time you're gonna hear me talk about this character, but it's actually a mini series. But I've always considered it a movie, and that is It, the mini series from 1990. When I think of Stephen King, this is one of the first things I think of because, again, I was watching it at a young age, and I remember my aunt was making breakfast, and she put this movie on for me and my cousins, and we had not seen it. We didn't know what we were watching, and I just remember when it got to the point where Georgie died, we freaked out. We were like, "What is this?" And Tim Curry's Pennywise scared us, and I think every time we looked at the VHS tape, or at least I did, the cover art, like I was so terrified of Pennywise. And it took me a while to finally rewatch it. And in fact, like the first time we saw it, we only watched the first half. Like after part one ended, we thought that was the last of it. And
Yeah, yes, Ben. I am counting Creepshow. You may see that on my list.
it's not on my list, but I love it. I was strictly thinking just Stephen King adaptations for this, but I love Creepshow. Um, but yeah, but it the miniseries has become an instant favorite of mine. I love it. Like I said, I didn't watch the second half of the movie for a long time, and it took me a while to realize that there was a second half of this. Um, but yeah, I love it. Tommy Lee Wallace directed it, did a great job. Tim Curry is a classic Pennywise. He's fantastic in it, and he's great in everything. Like he can really transform into a role. Um, and then of course, like I love the casting, especially the young Losers Club. That group of kids, they were so good in this, and it's still very eerie today. Like when I go back and watch certain moments of it, it still creeps me out. So I love watching it during this time of the year. It's my favorite time to watch it, and yeah, that's it. 1990. What do you think of this one, Nick?
Well, this is one that hasn't aged as well for me. I loved this miniseries when I was a kid, and it scared the crap out of me. And yes, I agree, Christina. The shower scene, that scared the crap out of me when he comes up out of the drain.
Yes.
There's Tim Curry, and Bill said something along the lines of like, Tim Curry is the reason I'm afraid of clowns, but also love movies with clowns in them. And it's like a lot of people feel that way. My wife is the same way, like he made you afraid of those creepy clowns, but also makes you intrigued when there's a movie with a creepy clown. Um, he is iconic in the role. I just think the
Mhm.
second half of it is just
I think.
so lackluster compared to the first half. The first half is so good. Um, and part of that is King's fault. because I've read the book, and let me tell you something, the second half of the book can be a drag at times. It's that's
I
just the
mean,
source material.
but I still really enjoy the second half. I One of my favorite lines is "Kiss me, fat boy."
Oh, it's
Um,
great. It's
I
great.
mean, yeah, I think my only, like I said, I think the second half is a little weaker than the first half. And I don't completely hate the spider scene, but it is hokey. Like it's hokey, but I will say also that it's a very historic miniseries because we don't get Stephen King miniseries anymore. And
Yes.
for 1990, this was groundbreaking and
Yeah,
terrifying.
and it's one that if we did an honorable mentions, it would make my honorable mentions. It did not
Yeah.
make my list, guys. Because as when the new ones came out, I prefer the new ones. I think that they're much truer to the book. And I think that's a good perspective to have. If you guys haven't read it, I implore you to read it because it is a fantastic novel.
I'm
It's a big book, but it is
It's a big
worth the
book.
read. Yeah. Have you
I,
read it,
I'm
Justin?
I'm like halfway through. I've had to take breaks off and on, but it is a great book. Like what I've read so far is great.
I binged it before it chapter 1 came out. It
Yeah.
2017. I read it in like a month. But
Yeah. No.
so my number 9 is going to be one that I'm sure is going to be controversial, but I think that's just because of the title alone. I think if you guys go back and watch this movie, if you haven't seen it, you'll find yourself surprisingly enjoying this movie. Um, that movie is going to be Carrie from 2013.
Ooh.
And I'm just going to say it. I'm going to say it right now. I I love this movie. I really, really find enjoyment in this movie, whether it's Chloe Moretz's performance, Julianne Moore's performance. I think they're both fantastic in the movie in their roles. Um, it's definitely there are a lot of copy paste things from the original, but I just for whatever reason I felt like some of the characters were a little more fleshed out and you cared about them. I'm not sitting here saying that it's better than the original. No, I'm just saying that for me personally, I find a lot of rewatch value in this movie. I love the climax when she just goes full blown insane and starts killing everyone. It's beautiful. And the girl in the car that just deserved it
Mhm.
so bad. That entire moment, she is just scared shitless at what Carrie's about to do to her. And I love every second of that. So I think that the movie is a fun movie. It's a well-made movie. It's a good movie. I really like it. And it's honestly didn't get bad reviews. It did okay at the box office. So I don't know why yeah, and Trev, what you just said, yeah, it was positively received and then it just went away. So I don't get it, but this is a movie that I feel like a lot of people just haven't seen or they confuse it with the um the Rage or wasn't there also a TV?
Yeah, I've seen
Yeah,
them all.
TV Carrie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So people are like, I don't need to see another. It's actually really good. I really like this Carrie. What do you think of this Carrie, Justin?
So the first time I saw it, I didn't care for it just because I have a huge love for the original. And yes, that's me going, oh, the original's better. But rewatching it, there was something I found intriguing the first time I saw it, so I actually went back and I rewatched it, and I really like it now. I don't love it, but I really like it, and I think it does a great job in some areas of the film. I like Chloe Grace in the role of Carrie. I thought she did a good job. Um, I thought Julianne Moore was good, but I wanted a little bit more from her, but she was still good in it. This is a fun one. This is definitely one that over time I've enjoyed more and more.
I
And
will say this, Justin, I want to know if you'll agree with me.
okay,
This is a movie that I feel like doesn't do anything crazy that would piss people off that it exists.
no,
You know
I
what I
don't.
mean?
No, no, I
It's
don't
not
think
a
that. No,
No,
it's
it
not one
doesn't
of those
take these
remakes.
risks where you're just like, "Oh god, why'd they make this movie?" No, like at the very least you can walk away from this movie going, "It was fine." There's
Yeah,
nothing crazy bad
nothing
or,
like.
you know.
Yeah, nothing made me like angry with it. Like this wasn't a remake where I was like, oh, how dare they? Like, again, when I first saw it, I have such a big love for that original. Um, but over time, I've enjoyed this one more and more, and I
Well,
think it's a pretty solid Stephen King adaptation.
before we get to your number 8, I got to answer a question that a couple people asked me in the
Okay.
chat. and this is going to be blasphemous, but I don't care. I prefer the remake over the original. To answer your
Oh,
guys' questions, I do. I do. It's just I don't know. I just do. I find it more fun. So I really like this remake. I really do. And you know, this may be blasphemous to hear, guys. I'm sorry. It's just my opinion. I'm not saying it's better. I like it more.
hey, you know what? We've talked about remakes before, and um, I like. I mean, I don't like it better than Carpenter's movie, but I do like The Fog. So, um, yeah, Carrie, it's a good solid remake, and we all have our likings and our opinions. So that's
Well,
what
on
makes
that,
this community just awesome.
that's what
So
makes the world go round, Justin.
exactly.
So, on that note, what's your number 8?
So you've talked about it, but the number 8 is Silver Bullet. So like I said, like this when I first saw it terrified me. And some moments in the movie that really kind of still creep me out today. You have the moment where the young woman is um uh kind of going back and forth if she's going to commit suicide after her lover, pretty much leaves her after he finds out she's pregnant, and then the werewolf attacks and kills her. You have the church dream sequence in the movie that's creepy.
Oh, yes.
Oh, gosh, that always gets me. Um, you have the probably one of the most scariest moments in it is the moment where the townspeople go after the werewolf in the middle of the night and they go in the woods and you see the fog and everything on the ground, and then the werewolf starts attacking them, and there's just one image that always gets me, and it's the image where the werewolf's arm comes up with the bat and he's attacking somebody, and I find that very creepy and eerie.
Yeah.
But I love the cast in this. Young Corey Haim, rest in peace. Miss him today. Miss him still today. The actor who played the werewolf, I'm drawing a blank on his name, but he was in People Under the Stairs and Twin Peaks. He's great in this, and I like the fact that he's a man that uh, you know has a caring side, but has this dark side to him. And it kind of goes back and forth with him. And then Gary Busey, he's great in it as the uncle. So you got great music. The sister's great in it. This whole movie is just a great film. And if you've never seen Silver Bullet, you need to watch this one. So
Yeah.
I love it.
Well, my next one, and I've already talked about Silver Bullet, so my next one is going to be another one that I think is going to ruffle some feathers, and that's okay. Uh, and I do not find this one better than the original. I will say that, but I do enjoy this one. Number 8 for me is going to be Pet Sematary 2019.
I like it though.
A remake that I find justifies its existence by trying new things than from the source material. I felt like they stuck to the core idea of King's book and the themes of it, but I really feel like some of the risks they took in the movie do pay off. I think the issue a lot of people had was that they showed some of those in the trailers, not that they existed in the movie. It wasn't a problem to do that. It was a problem to show us that before we went and saw it in the movie theater. So, but I really, really enjoy this movie, and I love the ending. I really love the ending of they're all basically gonna be buried in the cemetery together and come back as zombie. It's a very dark ending when Gage is in the car and they're all walking toward him, and you're just like, oh God, no. But I like dark endings like that. I've always been a sucker for that in horror when it's a dark ending, not a happy ending. So I really, really enjoy this movie. I really do. And I'm gonna put it at 8. And if people want to throw tomatoes, throw those damn tomatoes. I like this movie.
I really enjoy this one. So I really enjoy this remake. My only complaints with it, honestly, the trailer showed too much. I think if the trailer would not have shown too much, it would have been a really great surprise. And then I think there could have been characters developed better. I think Pascal is one of my favorite Stephen King characters, and the book is terrifying. Like I love the book. Um,
You
I
got to give
would have
credit to
loved.
the you got to give credit to the little girl, even if you don't like the movie.
No, I give
Yeah,
credit to the little girl.
yeah,
She did a great job in it. No, she
Jate
was great.
Lawrence.
She was one of the best performances in this. But I wish there was more Pascal. I wish there was more. John Lithgow was good in it, but I wish there was more with him. Fred Gwynn was just fantastic in the original. So I wish they would have developed Judd a little bit more in this. And then Zelda, like, I think I read somewhere where that was actually a character that they actually did not have originally in the script, and they added Zelda in later on.
And that was
Um,
the right decision by the filmmakers,
yeah,
in my
no, it
opinion, to
was.
not try to touch her, because you cannot do what the original did with Zelda
Yeah,
better. So why even try? So the fact that they were not going to touch it, I would have appreciated that more than what we got, because I didn't like Zelda in this movie.
yeah. But you know what? The kid who played Zelda, that was a kid that played Zelda, and there's a good creepy moment with Zelda in this with the elevator shoot. Um, And then what was the other? Pros with this. Like I think the best performance in this movie is Amy
Simons.
Simons, Rachel. She is great, and I love the actress who played Rachel in the original. But I actually think that this remake improved on Rachel, and um, definitely more faithful to the book. So, but yeah, I really enjoy this
Yeah.
remake. I'm looking forward to the prequel.
Robert, I have not seen Dolan's Cadillac.
Mm-mm,
Um,
not seen that one.
Bill, I'm telling you, man,
Knockers.
give it a try, Bill. Give it a try. I
Tommy
really do think
Knockers.
you'll find something to like in it. But yeah, Tommy Knockers, it's yeah,
A
and
good
the
one.
cardinal sin of a modern trailer. I know they show damn near everything. But Justin, what
Okay.
is your number 7?
So number 7 is an underrated Stephen King movie, and it's an underrated story, and that is Sometimes They Come Back from
Oh,
1990 or 91. Have you seen this one?
of course I have.
I love Sometimes They Come Back, and
Yeah,
again,
this would have been an honorable mention for me as
yeah,
well.
yeah. Again, this is one of those movies that terrified me when I first saw it, and it's really one moment in the film where you have those ghostly characters, and they're in the car with the one guy, and he's like, "Do you want to see my face?" And like you see the true reveal of these ghosts. That is still creepy today when I watch it, but I love this. I think you got great performances. Robert Russler, I think Robert Russler, who played Grady in Nightmare on Elm Street 2, he's the lead villain in this, and he does a great job. Very suspenseful, just a great movie directed by Tom McLaughlin, who directed Friday the 13th Part 6 and One
Yep.
Dark Night. Yeah, this is a great Stephen King adaptation. And if you've never seen Sometimes They Come Back, this is a must watch. It's definitely
Yeah.
one of his most underrated ones.
Hey, Sam, thank you, man. I know it's late over there in the
Thank you,
UK,
Sam.
across the pond. Get some sleep. And Sam's right. If you guys have not left a like on the stream yet, what you doing? What you doing? Takes half a second. Okay, Justin, I respect it. I respect it. I'm gonna go old school for my
Okay.
number 7. One of my favorite movies as a kid. Number 7 is going to be Cujo.
Okay.
It's not easy making a movie about a dog and have it be frightening and suspenseful in such an enclosed area too. It's just a dog, right? It's so much more than that. I This movie scared me as a kid. Actually made me kind of afraid of dogs, which is really weird. I really like this movie. I really, really like this movie. I think that Cujo is one that a lot of people don't talk about enough anymore. And I wonder if that was because for the time when it came out, it was kind of a game changer in the sense of, it's big ass evil dog. But I think that, and people focus on the Pet Cemeteries and the Shining of the world, but this movie's really good. I really do like Cujo, and I think that I think it's solid, and people in the chat seem like they're like, oh hell yeah, Cujo. So Justin, quick thoughts on Cujo?
I love Cujo. It would have been an honorable mention. It's not on my list, but I love it, and I think it's a great one. And you got great performances, and like you said, like it's a they made a dog terrifying in this movie, and the
Yeah,
dog is terrifying.
it's like The Sandlot.
Yeah,
Make a dog terrifying.
I know. Dee Wallace is amazing in this. She gives one of her best performances. You just feel so bad for her and her son when they're trapped in that car, and you feel the heat and the dirt and the sun just hitting their faces, like, in the sweat. It's great performances in this, and Dee's awesome. The son, I can't remember the actor's name. He's great in this. Yeah, I love Cujo. Very suspenseful movie. Great movie though.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. Christina, you got to check it out. If you haven't seen it, you should check it out. It is definitely a classic. I did not hear that story, Bobby, but feel free to fill me in. Justin,
Okay.
number 6.
So my number 6 is John Carpenter's Christine. So again, just I'll say it so many times in this, but I love all these, so I'm going to say I love this. And this is one of my favorite Stephen King adaptations. It's also one of my favorite John Carpenter films. I read the book, and overall, I think this is a very faithful adaptation to that. If they remade it, I would not have a problem with it. In fact, I think they're remaking it. I think Blumhouse is going to remake it.
Yep.
And there's a couple elements in the book that I hope they bring to the new movie, because if they do it right, it's going to be pretty creepy. But I love this. I think it's suspenseful. I think, again, great cast here, great lead role. Keith Gordon's great in this. One of Carpenter's best movies, and there's some really good suspenseful moments in this, like when the bully is being chased by Christine in the alley. That's a great moment. Carpenter has a really good score in this. This is one of my favorite John Carpenter scores. And, I don't want to put words in Stephen King's mouth, but I think he liked this one. Maybe he did when it came out. I think this was something
Pretty
that
sure, yeah, pretty sure he
he
did.
liked. He liked this one. So, again, this is like a overall really good, faithful adaptation of the Stephen King story. And like we talked about with dogs, with Cujo, I was scared of cars watching this movie. I mean, this movie made a car scary and gave the car character. And yeah, absolutely love it. And then you have the late Kelly Preston in this, so rest in peace to her. She has a small part, but yeah, I love Christine. John Carpenter's Christine.
Well, yeah, I'll echo a lot of what you said. I also really enjoy Christine, but my number 6 is going to be Creepshow. And I love Creepshow too as well. And these movies, I don't know what it was. These were always on TV when I was a kid. These movies were, and they just nowadays when I watch them, there's a lot more cheese and fun to be had there than I remembered as a kid. Because when I was a kid, I genuinely thought they were just like terrifying. And now there's definitely some more cheese and fun, but they're still effective. They really are still effective. And I don't know, it's just very nostalgic for me. Always remember, always reminds me of that time in my life, I guess. Life was a lot easier. But yeah, Creepshow is definitely one of my favorites. So Creepshow is going to come in at number 6 for me. I feel fairly confident in putting that there. I do. What do you think of Creepshow?
Love Creepshow. Again, if I had not just stuck with Stephen King adaptations, this would have made my list, because I think it's awesome. And I'll say it's an honorable mention because I really love this, and it's a fun one. It's eerie at times. There's definitely some stories in this that are kind of creepy. There's a lot of fun stories to it, and Romero and Stephen King together, they're golden. And yeah, I love Creepshow. So, and Creepshow 2. I think that's a
Yeah.
great one too.
Yeah. Not so much Creepshow 3.
I don't think I've seen that one.
You're
So,
not missing much. All right, Justin, we're in the top 5. We are in the top 5. What is your
so
number 5?
top five is going to be kind of a twofer. You can't leave one out without the other, and that is It 2017 and It Chapter 2, which I really enjoy. It Chapter 2. I know some people don't like it, but I really enjoy that part 2. I think the first one's slightly better. I love the 2017 one, but like as a whole, I love both these films. And overall perfect cast, with both the young and the older, losers clubs. I think the kids are great in this. I think they, like in the original, they have great chemistry, and I also think that, and I think it actually improved, with the, adult losers clubs. I think they all had great chemistry. I think they're slightly better than the original, adult cast from the 1990s miniseries. They were cast perfectly. Like when you imagine these kids as adults, you see who they cast in the movie. Bill Skarsgård is terrifying in this. He really transforms into it, and he's definitely got some scary moments throughout the both movies. And yeah, I love this. I love them both overall, and I think it's a fantastic, overall film. So
Well, I won't give my thoughts on that yet because I'm going to get there. Savoy, thank you so much for the super chat. Savoy says, love Cat's Eye and
oh,
got a
Captain Kirk,
massive soft spot for Maximum Overdrive. Still makes me
fun movie.
smile. They remade it and called it Trucks. Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah. Maximum
it's a fun
Overdrive was
one.
one that, oh, I loved it as a kid. I loved it.
Oh,
I,
and I gotta mention the It trailers. I love both It Chapter One and It Chapter Two's trailers. I go back every once in a while and I watch them.
yeah.
Like part two's for 27 years. I
Yeah.
miss you. I craved you. Like,
Yo, it's so great. It's so great. The
right.
marketing for those movies was brilliant. But again, thank you so much, Savoy. I really appreciate
Thank
that.
you.
So for my number 5 is going to be one that I think a lot of people would probably have in their top 3, if not their number 1. But it's going to be my number 5, and that's going to be The Shining. And no, we are not talking about the TV
Hey,
Shining.
I'll talk about that in a second.
Okay, but I will just say I love The Shining. I really do. This is a movie that I think a lot of people know its legacy and know how good it truly is. And part of that also is Kubrick. But there's a lot of controversy behind this movie because Kubrick changed some important things from King's book, and King was mad. And actually, some people may not know this. The Shining was the reason that every single um, adaptation of Stephen King's work that came out after this, he made sure he approved the screenplay before it went in front of cameras, because of The Shining, because he did not approve Kubrick's screenplay, and he was pissed that he changed his ending. So from there on out, he said, "If you're making an adaptation of my book, I want to say yes to the screenplay before you do that." Because, for example, Pet Cemetery, it's funny. Some people may not know this. Did you guys know that Pet Cemetery, he had an offer from Paramount for $1 million to sell Pet Cemetery to them for $1 million, and he said no, because it ended up happening because he said, "I don't want to sell it for $1 million for you guys to do whatever you want to do with it. I'll sell it to you for $1,000, so long as I get to have the final say on the screenplay." And that's what happened. Sold it for $1,000, and he got to say what was okay and what wasn't okay to
Mhm.
put in his source, to take from his source material. So The Shining has a checkered past with Stephen King, and he's talked about how it's not one of his favorites. But I love this movie. I think a lot of people love this movie, and part of that is really just the acting of Jack Nicholson is fantastic in it. Shelley Duvall is fantastic in it. The overlooked setting in and of itself is just it's awesome. And Kubrick is a maestro when it comes to filmmaking. So it just comes across very elegant and very almost like old school, one of the first elevated horror movies, dare I say. It's very elevated in that sense. So yeah, The Shining is number 5 for me. And I won't even ask you what you think about it, Justin, because I know it's going to be on your list somewhere. So why
Yes,
don't you go
yeah.
ahead and give us your number 4?
So number 4, we're getting a theatrical movie finally this year, and I'm so excited to see what direction that they go with it because I love the book. I don't remember the 2003 miniseries, but the 1979 Toby Hooper's Salem's Lot
Yeah.
is one of my all-time favorite movies or miniseries. One of the best Stephen King adaptations, one of the best horror movies, one of my personal favorite Toby Hooper films. Um, where to start with this? First, the atmosphere always gets me in this movie. It's got a great atmosphere. Um,
What's
great
up, J
cast.
Dev?
What's up, J Dev? How you doing? Great cast. David Soul's great in. The actor who played Barlow's terrifying and creepy. Um, you got some terrifying moments in this. Of course, but he talks about the boy scraping out the window, which is terrifying. But the moment that always gets me the most is when the vampire's sitting in the rocking chair and he wakes up and he's like, "Teacher, come here, teacher." Um,
Priceless.
that is probably the scariest scene for me is that moment in it. But I love this. I like the look of Barlow in this. I think it's definitely a better look. Obviously it's different than how Barlow's described in the book. Um, but again, going back to the upcoming remake, I'm interested to see what direction that they go with Barlow because I think Barlow obviously could be terrifying if they use the same direction like in the 1979 miniseries. But I think if done right, Barlow can be terrifying like they describe in the book because he really is scary in the book. But I'm just so excited that this somewhat underrated Stephen King story is finally getting a theatrical release. And I'm looking forward to it and I hope it's good because I love the story, I love the book, I love the Toby Hooper 1979 film. And it's one that I have to watch at least once a year. I really love Salem's Lot. So,
Yeah,
what's your
yeah.
thoughts?
Well, Salem's Lot was one that absolutely scared the crap out of me when I was a kid. I did. I haven't watched it in a long time, but I do have fond memories of it. Barlow is fantastic. Although when I was a kid, I used to think that Barlow was just Nosferatu. So, and I know I wasn't the only person that thought that. But I really, really liked. I really like this from '79. I'm a fan of it, and I am eager to see what they do with the new movie. So yeah, I'm right there with you,
So,
Justin.
so AJ, I just want to point out, yes, we're talking Stephen King, but Toby Hooper directed this. And while I give credit to Stephen King for this story, I give credit to Toby Hooper. I feel like Toby Hooper doesn't get enough credit because he did a fantastic job with Poltergeist. I know I'm not going to go too much into it, but he did a fantastic job with it, and he did an amazing job with Salem's Lot. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So, I mean, you got Stephen King, you got Toby Hooper, and you got one of the best adaptations out there.
Oh yeah. Um, No, Ben, I have not seen either one of those. I have not. Hey, what's up, Antonis?
And
Um, so my number 4 is going to be It 2017. Uh, this was in my adulthood. It's still one of my most fun theater going experiences. This movie took over the world. I mean, pop culture. It was all about it. Everyone was talking about it. It's the highest grossing R-rated horror movie of all time. And there's a reason for that. It came out
mhm.
at the right time. There's so much about it that is done well and done right. And I think that this is one of the ones when Stephen King says that he's very proud of this and he loves it. You believe him because Universally, a lot of people agree that this is one of the better ones. It just is. I really, really like this movie. I really do. I didn't think that they were going. I would have never thought that it would be as good as it was. What's up, Joey? But
Hey, Joey.
I really enjoyed this movie. I remember, I'll never forget the Thursday night showing back when they used to do midnight showings. I remember I closed at work, and I think I've told you this story, but I don't know. I was going to see it right after work, opening night,
Mhm.
and I went to Party City and I bought a red balloon and I tied it to one of the tables in the kitchen at my work, and then I printed off the picture of Pennywise in the storm drain smiling at Georgie, and I posted it up in the kitchen. And I also I folded a little paper
Mhm.
boat and wrote SS Georgie and put it on the ground by the drain in the kitchen. And yeah, I left it there for the morning crew to find. But
Mhm.
it was just, I mean, it took over the world, man. It really, really did. So I loved it 2017, and that's going to be my number 4. And Justin has already talked about it and it chapter 2. So Justin, top 3. What's number 3?
So number 3, you've talked about it, but it's The Shining. So the 1980 Stanley Kubrick's The Shining. Ah, I saw this movie so many times on TV and still love it today. I've always loved this. Obviously it's a Kubrick classic. He directed this great, excellent Stanley Kubrick movie. Um, Again, I talk about atmosphere a lot. I love atmosphere in a movie, and this has great atmosphere. Performances all around are awesome. Jack Nicholson is great. Shelley Duvall is great in this, and she gives a great performance. I just hate what she had to deal with behind the scenes because I know it kind of really affected her. But great, great performance by Shelley Duvall. And like you said, this is an adaptation that Stephen King did not like. I mean, it is different from his book. I mean, Kubrick really did make his own movie, and Stephen King didn't approve of it. But there's a lot that works here, and Shelley Duvall. I go back to her. I know that wasn't she. Wendy's not she's not described as windy in the book. And if you want a little trivia, I know Jessica Lange was in talks, and Kubrick really fought to get Shelley Duvall in this. And the performance, the moment that always gets me is when she is she's has that bat in her hand and she's going back and forth with it, going up the stairs, and Jack is, going up, just kind of terrorizing her and picking at her, and all she wants to do is go back to her room. But yeah, love The Shining, absolutely love it. And I will say, talking about the mini series, while Kubrick's movie is better, I think the miniseries is pretty underrated. Besides some CGI that doesn't hold up well, I think casting is great in that, and I really enjoy that adaptation quite a bit.
Yeah. I will say I see Ben mentioned Shawshank and Stand by Me. Yeah, those are both fantastic movies. Um, I think there's a lot of non-horror as well that Stephen King did that I find myself really enjoying. And I found it that making this just purely horror made it a little more difficult too. So it's by no means are we omitting those because
Yeah.
we don't think they're good. We're keeping it strictly horror. Um, but yeah, nice call outs, man. My number 3 is going to be one that was my number 1 until 1 year happened. 1 year came and it shook up my list entirely. But for the longest time, my number 1, which is now my number 3, is the original Pet Cemetery.
Ooh.
Uh, One of the scariest movies I saw as a kid.
Mhm.
One of the most like emotional, heartbreaking, creepy, yuck, nasty, whatever the hell, um, whatever other adjective you want to use. Yes, it is apt. This movie was just, it's fantastic. I know a lot of people nowadays I didn't know this at the time, but I mean, maybe this wasn't this way when it first came out, but absolutely nowadays there's so many people that say, oh, this movie's just really not good, the acting is terrible and this is terrible, and I'm like, did we watch the same movie?
Right?
Because yeah, like the little girl, I agree, she's definitely acting over the top, but I mean, it's a kid actor, that happens a lot with kids, but like
Yeah.
aside from that, like I thought the acting was good. I thought that the whole plot with Gage and what it did to the family,
Mm.
and the repercussions of Lewis's decision, and Fred Gwynn, and I mean, come on, this movie I think is just freaking awesome. I mean, I think it's awesome. So I'll never understand the hate that this movie seems to be getting nowadays, where people say it's cheesy and it's yeah, what I don't know, Justin. I mean, I guess I'm going to ask you what's your number two, because I got a feeling this is going to show up on your in your top two.
Well, this is my number two, and it's so hard to go back and forth between this and my number one, but we'll get to my number one in a minute. But Pet Cemetery, and I completely agree with you. I do not get the hate for this nowadays. Like, and I don't think it's cheesy one bit. I think this is one of Stephen King's scariest adaptations that we still have today, 30 plus years later. And I love it. I love the cast. I think Dale Metcalf as Lewis is great in this. I'm drawing a blank on her name, but Rachel in this is great. What is her name? I'm
I
drawing
can't remember. I can't remember.
somebody down below. Like, what's her name? Because she's great in this. She does a great job. Well, I definitely prefer Rachel in the new one. She still does a great job. Miko Hughes is one of the best child actors, and for a 3-year-old to do what he did in this is just great. Like, he's great in this. Definitely the standout is Judd, played by Fred Gwynn. Rest
Denise
in peace.
Crosby. Denise
Denise
Crosby.
Crosby, thank you. The Fred Gwynn, he is amazing as Judd. I love his performance, and there's definitely some heartbreaking moments with him, like when he's sitting at the table with Lewis, and he's pretty much telling him, you know, I might have killed your son, Lewis, since I took you up to the Indian burial ground. So I think he gives a great performance, but I kind of take back like the standout performance. I think he's a close second. I think the actor who played Pascal in this gives the best performance. Again, he's a very haunting character, but he's a good guy, and you know, trying to warn the family, trying to warn Lewis, you know, don't do what Lewis does in it. Like, he is trying to warn him about things. He does a
Soil of a
good job.
man's heart, Estonia. You don't want
Um,
to go down that road.
don't want to go down that road. But and then of course we got to talk about Zelda, because you know Zelda, while terrifying and still creeps me out today, very iconic in this, and creepy. So Mary Lambert, credit to her, she did a great job directing this. Stephen King was a part of it. I could totally understand where he did not want to sell this right away, because you know this story was something that he didn't even want to release for the longest time, like the
Nope.
book, because it terrified him. It
You know
affected
what
him.
made him write this story, right?
Well, like what did make? I guess I don't know that part of it.
His son ran out in the road and almost got hit by a semi, and he had to run and tackle his son out of the road, or he would have been hit by a semi. And that's kind of what started the whole thing. And Stephen King said he didn't want this ever to become a movie, because this was a way for him to express what it would feel like and what it would look like to lose
You know what?
your son. And he said that was his biggest fear in life, is the death of his son.
Yeah, but yeah, going back to Dale Metcalf though, I know some people think he's cheesy in this. Like that scene where he is running towards Gage, and
Oh,
Gage is running in the road, and then the aftermath of like Lewis just screaming there in the road.
yeah.
So heartbreaking, and thinking about it makes me want to cry, because that performance is really good too. And then at the end when he has to kill his son, and
Oh God, no fair.
heartbreaking, no
No
fair.
fair.
But like if you look at like Lewis's eyes in that moment, like you know he sees his little boy. I mean, but
I couldn't have done. I mean, even though it was a monster recreation of your kid, I could not have done that. I couldn't
yeah,
have done it.
that's why it gets him. That's why it really affects him because, yeah, he came back and he wasn't the son that he had before. But like when you see that shot of him, like almost like tears in his eyes, what he has to do to his son at this moment is heartbreaking. And
Yeah.
then, of course, I'm going to talk a little. I'm sorry I'm rambling, but I love this movie. Ramones classic song here. And then, of course, I love the ending where Lewis has pretty much lost his mind and he thinks that bringing Rachel back will be different than Gage. And I love the moment where Rachel comes back and her eyes like gouged out.
Oh yeah.
She says, "Darling,"
Yes.
and you see that knife come up, and then the screen just goes black, and you hear Lewis scream. Um, yeah, I love Pet Cemetery. Just
Yeah.
absolutely adore this movie.
Yeah, it is fantastic. I agree with everything you said. I could talk about this movie all day.
Yeah.
My number two is going to be one that yeah, it's probably going to ruffle feathers. Whatever at this point. By the way, what's up, Mike? I saw that you came in here. How you doing, man?
Hello.
And Ben, yes, she did direct Halloween Town 2. Calabar's Revenge.
Did she really? I didn't know that. So
Yep.
awesome.
Yeah, Mary
Awesome.
Lambert. It's kind of similar to like the Bob Clark thing, you know, A Christmas Story and A Black Christmas. Like, what? Those are two like total. I mean, they're both Christmas movies, but you know, one is not for kids and one is for kids. So,
That's true.
I my number two is going to be It Chapter 2 from 2019.
Ooh, like
Yeah,
that.
It Chapter 2, I think I will respect this movie till the day I die because of how difficult this second part of this story is. And for them to pull it off as well as they did, because there are a lot of people that will say it's not as good as part one, but it's still really good. Even just saying that is a testament to how what kind of a great job that Andy Muschietti did, because I'm telling you, as someone who read that book, the second half is very hard to put into film. It's not. There's a lot that is just not. It wouldn't translate to film well because Stephen King always struggled with his endings. That's literally a running joke in this movie. With Bill's character and saying his endings suck. Everyone, they're making fun of Stephen King in a way because that's what everyone always said about King. So, but I love this movie. I think that personally, when it comes to, I think Bill Skarsgård is better in this one, and he was incredible in the first one, but I think he's even more menacing in this one. I love some of the effects in this. Just absolutely love them. Like when he's basically transporting them to like different dimensions at the end of the movie, and they have to like fight their way out of it before they finally face off with him when he's in that big like spider-like form.
Yeah.
You know, you've got, it's so mean when Ben is about to get buried and he's like, "You'll always die a fatty loser." And just shuts like the coffin door on him and it starts filling up with dirt.
Oh,
It's
I remember that.
so mean. And I mean, Bill Skarsgård just lives for this role. Like, "I know your secret." Like to Richie, it's just, he
Mm-hmm.
is so mean in this movie and he's having the time of his life doing it. And I absolutely love this movie. So It Chapter 2 is my number two. It is not my number one. Justin, what is your number one?
I think you probably know what it is. You might not. I think you do though. But it is Brian De Palma's Carrie from
Wow.
1976. So
Okay.
I so whenever I think of Stephen King, like this is my number one thought that comes in my head because I have such a great memory watching this movie for the first time on a VHS tape. And I was one of those kids that like when the prom scene would happen, I would like to recreate it and I'd get my sisters involved and we'd watch the scene and the music would play and of course I was like the Carrie version and I'm like, okay, everybody get down and act like you're dying or like I know I was a little demented. But I was the first time I saw this movie I loved it and I still love this today. Amazing performances. Sissy Spacek is fantastic in it. I know she's described differently than in the book, but this is where I think the character definitely improves compared to the book. Love her performance. Love the performances all around. Obviously, like, oh, gotta mention, I was gonna draw a blank, but Piper Laurie, you don't like her, but she's wonderful in this as Mrs. White. She's got an amazing scene at the end where she's talking to Carrie about Carrie being conceived and her Carrie's father, and so love that performance. Love the direction by Brian De Palma, like all around in this. But obviously, I think the big thing that really stands out is how he directed the prom scene. The build up when Sue is watching the line and you have the music playing, but she's watching it and she sees the bucket of blood and she's trying to stop Chris and um, Billy underneath the stage, and the gym teacher, pulls her away. Like, that is like a great moment there. And then of course, like when everything happens and Carrie's kind of seeing everybody laugh at her and she just kind of breaks. And um you have the double side direction going on where you're seeing one thing happen and then another thing's happening. um and then probably like one of the most eeriest moments in that scene is when she sees the gym teacher and the gym teacher screaming out Carrie, and she kills the gym teacher. And the way it was directed and lit and the music um, was great. I love this movie so much. I've always loved it. I will always love it. And this remains my favorite Stephen King adaptation. So
Well, I will say I saw people talking about Misery in the chat. That is one that is an honorable mention for me. It is a very good movie. Didn't crack my top 10.
yeah, I love Misery too. Great movie.
One person guessed my number one at the beginning, and it was Rudy. And Justin, I think, deep down knew it as well.
I knew it.
I have beat the drum on this movie since the day I saw this movie in theaters. And it is easily my number one. And believe it or not, it's not a very good book. So I think Mike Flanagan did an amazing job turning this into a great movie. And that is Dr. Sleep. I just there's something about this movie that just does it for me. I wish I could tell you guys as listeners, fellow horror fans, what exactly it is that is the one thing that gravitates me towards it. And I don't know if I can say. Maybe the time was just right. Maybe the moment was just right when I was in the theater seeing this movie, and I think they don't rely on jump scares. That's one thing that I love about this movie. This movie's
Yeah.
about building tension, and it builds up to an amazing finale where the
Uh-huh.
Overlook is created brilliantly. You get to see Danny basically have to relive the horrors of his childhood. Um,
Yeah.
I love the acting. I love the character arcs. I love the music. I love the fact that for 2 hours of this movie, it's its own thing that doesn't even need the Overlook. But then when you get to the Overlook, you're like, I am in heaven because
Uh-huh.
you're watching this movie and you're enjoying this movie for what it is. And then to, um, when they get to the Overlook, it is it's brilliant. It's just brilliant to me. Um, I just absolutely love this movie. I love this movie, and I'm not surprised that I see people in the chat, disagreeing with me. That is totally fine.
Love Dr.
Um,
Sleep.
I just we didn't see that happen, Antonis. But it was in the book, so it's something that. But I know what you mean. I know what scene you're talking about. That
Yeah.
was all. it was important for the character arc of Danny Torrance, because that scene is to show you how lost Danny is and what kind of place he is in, that what he prioritized was stealing this woman's money and just leaving. He didn't care about the well-being of her child or her well-being. He didn't even check to see if she was all right. He was a drunkard, depressed man in a spiral. And this was I just feel like this was the lowest of the low points for Danny. And I also really enjoyed that they didn't linger too much on Danny when he was a drunk and a bum.
Hmm.
They showed you just enough, but they didn't, because if they would have done too much of that, you would have really not liked him. It would have really been like, if you spend a half hour, 45 minutes showing me that Danny's a bum, how are you going to get me to root for him? Like, so I really like that his transformation begins pretty early in the movie. But I just think that I think it's brilliant. I just think it is. And the fact that Stephen King, I believe, he was over the moon about this movie when it
Yeah.
came out. He was so proud of Mike Flanagan and so proud of this movie. And Trev, I'm glad I sold you on this movie. Don't go into this movie expecting to like it. Don't go into the movie expecting to like it better than The Shining, because I know The Shining it's a tough act to follow, but I want you to go into it just expecting a very well-made movie, because with enough of The Shining where it's familiar but not too much where it feels derivative. Because no matter what somebody thinks about this movie, you can't say the movie's derivative, because it goes in its own direction for 3/4 of this movie. It is very original, not leaning too much into The Shining. My preferred cut is the director's cut. To
Mine
answer your
too.
question, it is my preferred cut. It gives more exposition and it gives us more of Danny's arc. So that's my preferred cut as a director. It's a 3-hour watch, but my God, is it a brilliant 3-hour watch. So that's my number one. I'm gonna die on this hill. I mean, no
So,
one will ever be able to change my mind.
so Antanas brings up a question: why did they kill, a kid on screen? And while
Yeah,
it's
well,
very tragic, I will say this: I think it's that moment where you see Rebecca Ferguson as like a villain. Like we knew she was a villain
oh, that's what he
before
was
this.
talking about.
Yes.
I thought he was talking about the baby. No, you're talking
No,
about
no, he's talking about the
the
kid.
baseball
Yeah.
boy. Yes,
Which,
the
by the way,
baseball boy.
that Jacob Tremblay is a great actor, and like if you see interviews with Mike Flanagan, like he was excited to like film a death scene, and like he would like just on cue cry and be in panic, and then afterwards would just put a smile on his face when they weren't filming, and he just loved it. But yeah, it's very tragic that they kill him on screen. But if we didn't have that moment, we would not see the true dark side of Rose the
Yes.
Hat.
It makes
Because
you understand what Rose is capable of as
yes,
a villain.
because
Yeah.
leading up to her killing him or that group killing the kid, she comes off very soft. She's not a good person, but she's very soft and sweet. And then the moment that he dies and she kills him, that's when in my opinion, you really see her as a villain. So
Yes. It is I won't lie to you. It is a difficult scene to watch.
yes, it's a
And
hard thing to watch.
my wife and I felt the same way when we walked out of the theater. It was a difficult scene to watch, but I will say this. I do feel like what it does for the character of Rose is
Uh,
very important,
yeah.
because what is the point of this movie? She's trying to hunt down a kid, Abra.
Hmm.
She wants her shine. So you have to be, as an audience member, I think, is it you had to have it or it doesn't work? No, but I feel like it furthers the story because it tells you Rose will kill a kid. She will go to
Yeah,
any
that's
length, yes, she needs to stay powerful. And that,
well,
yeah.
yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but no, I agree with you. Like, and it just again, it shows like she's truly a dark villain in this. Like,
It makes her
she,
death that much better. And I'm not going to spoil anything, Trev, or any of you guys that haven't seen it yet. But I will just say there is a line right before what happens to her in the climax, and that Danny gives, and it is brilliant. It is so
I've
brilliant.
I love, you know what I love about that scene though, which again I won't give too much away, but if you want, so if you've seen The Shining and you've seen the moment with Jack and Wendy on the stairs, and Jack's like going up and like really picking on her, and saying, "I'm not gonna kill you. I'm just gonna bash your brain in."
Mm-hmm.
There's a moment between Danny and Rose the Hat, and if you are a fan of The Shining, there's a really cool kind of moment in this where Mike Flanagan kind of shows that tribute and love to Kubrick's The Shining when Rose is in the Jack Torrance. How do I describe this? Like she she's Jack in that moment, which I don't want to give too much away. I think it's the stairway moment. That's all I'm going to say. And I
Yeah.
really think that they wanted to capture Jack with Rose's performance. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but I don't want to give too much away since I know not everybody has seen this, but it's just a little wink. It's a little touch
Yeah,
that Mike
and
did.
I agree. I know exactly what you're talking about. I just feel like the ending of this movie just puts a nice bow
Mm,
on the story that was being told, and I love this freaking movie. I love this movie, and I believe
me
it was you,
too.
Trev, that said something about the theater experience plays a big part in it. It does, because I've literally mentioned this to Justin verbatim. There was no better feeling than sitting in that theater and enjoying
Yeah,
what I'm watching, and
same.
then we get all of a sudden this snowy mountainside, and then
Mm,
we go over the lake, and we go up the hill, and you're
wow.
just in the theater with that surround sound is just going ba 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 ba, and you're just like, oh my. Like in that moment I'm like, we're going to the Overlook. I am fully torqued. I cannot contain my excitement. Let's do this shit. And it was just awesome. It was so freaking awesome. That theater experience was so critical to, I think, the overall feel of this movie. But yes, yes, it is. Oh.
I love this. Yeah, I love this movie. I think it's pretty. I mean, people love it, but I think it's kind of underrated. I wish it would have done so much better at the box office because it is such a fantastic
Well,
movie.
Mike Flanagan was going to make a follow up if it would have done better. They had ideas for a follow up, and it didn't end up happening because the movie didn't tank. I think it made like 80 million, but
But it
it
wasn't
didn't
better.
do no, it didn't do what it needed to do. And a big reason was because yes, there were a lot of Stephen King adaptations that year. One, two, it came out right in the middle of when Joker was just taking
Yeah,
over pop
yes,
culture. And
yes.
also it was, you didn't market it correctly.
And they
I
released it in November, which I was like, November? Like, why?
And you didn't put in the marketing that it was a sequel to The Shining. Like you have to do that. You
Yeah,
have, for someone that is a fan, a horror fan, we knew, but the casual people, no, no,
yeah.
we the casuals did. A lot of casuals were probably just like, what the hell is this? But my God, it's
Well,
amazing. I love it.
this was a November release, right? Because I
Yes,
think yes, okay, yeah,
I
yeah,
still have my
November.
ticket. You know what, Justin? I'm gonna find out exactly what day, because I still have my
I think I
ticket
have
from
mine too.
opening
Let's
night.
see.
Ah, okay. Doctor Sleep, Friday, November 8th,
When
2019.
did I see it? Let's see, because I have I hopefully I have my movie ticket. Dang, let's see if it's in my Shining still. But hold on.
Yes. But I love it, guys. I love it. I won't apologize. You can't change my mind. So don't you do it.
You know,
Um,
I don't have my movie ticket. Shame on me, but I saw it in November. I saw it in theaters.
yeah.
This was one of my most anticipated movies of the year. So
Yeah, Anthony, you're right. If they would have called it The Shining 2, it probably would have done a lot better. And Bobby, no, I don't think they should have done a Jack Nicholson deep fake. A lot of people take issue with that scene at the bar, and I
oh,
think
I
people
love
miss.
it.
Well, I think people miss the point. They're like, why would you cast Henry Thomas? And because the point of that scene is not for it to look exactly like Jack Torrance. It
Exactly.
is it is just enough of Jack Torrance to for
But he does
Danny to know that it's the spirit of his father, but it's not supposed to be that on the nose. It's intentionally to mess with him. Like that way, when he's like calling him dad and stuff, and he's like, you must have me confused with someone else. Like,
yeah.
I'm just the bartender here. But we as the audience go, you know it's Jack. You're like, no, that is you. That's you. But they did it on purpose. Mike Flanagan talked about that. They could have done a deep fake. They had the budget for it. They chose not to do that because it's
I
not supposed to exactly be him.
I am happy that they went the route that they did, just because Henry Thomas, underrated actor. I know he was an E.T. and that's a classic, but he is such a great actor. And he, for the moments that he's in this movie, he does a great job. And when I was watching it, I did not see Henry Thomas. I was like, who is that actor? And then I saw it later on and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's Henry Thomas. But no, he does such a great job. And there's a few moments like when he's going down the hallway with the axe and you see his facial expressions in the movie. I see Jack Nicholson. I
Yes.
see Jack.
Yep.
So I huge credit to Henry Thomas for that. So.
And there's a line that scene is very important to Danny's arc. And I love one of the moments in that scene where they're talking and he's telling him to take his medicine. And he says, take your medicine. And he keeps sliding the drink back to Danny. And Danny thinks he might do it. And he says, a man takes a drink. The drink takes a drink. The drink takes a man. And then puts the glass down. And that's very, very important to his arc. And I think it's brilliant. I think there's so much. Mike Flanagan is one of the better directors of my era.
I love him. Yeah.
Yeah, he's incredible. He's incredible. But guys, that is our top 10 Stephen King horror film adaptations. I love Stephen King. I think Justin does too, right?
I do. I love him. So, and Psycho 4, shout out. I saw the comments. Henry Thomas, Psycho 4. I love it. But anyway, going back, yeah, I love Stephen King. So
now let me ask you something, Justin.
Okay.
What is a Stephen King property that you think needs to be visited again? What could use a remake? What could use a sequel? What is one that you really feel like, man, I would love to see this get modernized?
Well, there's two I could think of, and they're both miniseries. The first one is Tommyknockers, which scared me as a kid. Tommyknockers is a fun miniseries, but it could use like a great adaptation, like an adaptation today. And then I love this miniseries, but if they do it right, they could do a great job, and that is Storm of the Century, which if you've never seen Storm of the Century, it would have been an honorable mention, but I really love Storm of the Century. The villain is one of the best villains in a Stephen King novel or short story. Yeah, they can do a great modern adaptation of that if they did it. So
yeah.
So Tommyknockers or Storm of the Century for me.
Well, I gotta go with Joey here. I'm gonna say Children of the Corn. Because I feel like almost every sequel I just hate. And I haven't even seen all of them. I think the original is the only one that I feel like is very good.
I think part 2 is awesome. Like I love Children of the Corn part 2.
Yeah, and I might be being tough on it. But I just feel like that is one that I'm not it doesn't even need to be a remake, but I'd love to revisit that world. And I'd love for it to have a budget and be with a good filmmaker. So I'd love to see that revisited. I would love to see, and we're going to see, the world of Pet Sematary. I want to see more from that world. And as far as I know, the prequel is done filming. We should be getting news on that very soon. I'm excited for that prequel. The teenage young adulthood of Judd. I think that's going to be a really cool story. I'm excited for that. And Justin, I don't know if you knew this, but it was last reported, I believe, a year or so ago that James Wan is actually tackling an adaptation of Tommyknockers.
Really?
Yes.
Ooh, James Wan. Yeah,
Yep.
that.
Warner Brothers announced that James Wan, Gary Dauberman, who wrote a lot of, and a lot of the Conjuring movies and it,
Directing
and
Salem Slot. Yeah.
yep. So you will get your Tommy Knockers adaptation soon enough.
That scared me as a kid. Like the song in the movie, Tommy Knockers knocking at your door, like freaky stuff as a kid. Um, but yeah, oh, that's awesome. And then of course we talked about it. I'm so excited for Salem's Lot. I'm looking forward to what they're
Yeah.
gonna do with that. So.
Joe Cool asks, which Stephen King adaptation do you think needs the Scream Factory treatment?
Ooh. Um.
Mm.
Hmm.
Well,
There's no
I'll say this. I'll say this. Okay, this isn't one of the classic ones. This is obviously a newer one, but and Andy Muschietti talked about this. I want to see that supercut. I want to see it and It Chapter 2 put into the one big supercut that we were told we were going to get with additional footage, with a
yeah.
ton of features. I'd love that. I'd love one giant supercut of it.
Scream Factory treatment. Oh, there's so many that they can do. Um. Hmm. I think about this. Uh, you know what? I'm gonna say sometimes they come back. I know all the films released it, but I love that, and that can use some really good bonus features, and I'm sure you'd get a lot of people come back and talk about it. So
Yeah. Antonis wants to know, did we predict the killers in Scream 5? I predicted one of them.
I predicted one too. So just one.
And Antonis liked it. He liked it. He told me that he was a fan. He really liked it.
Awesome. Oh, the
Yeah.
Mist. Yes,
Yeah, The Mist.
Anthony.
Yep.
That's a good one, Anthony. The
Yeah.
Mist.
Yeah.
So, Elijah Wood is remaking Children of the Corn. I did not know that then. So,
Yeah, the shitty thing is that when all this stuff started like 2 years ago, this it put a lot of projects that were in the pipeline on hold, and some of those projects got abandoned. So Lord knows what's actually still happening and what's not happening, because we're just not getting word on a lot of stuff, and it's just kind of a bummer because, for example, like we've heard no movement on any further adaptation or continuation of the Conjuring universe. Nothing. Nothing
yeah,
at all.
I know. Like, I wonder where they're going to go with that.
There's been no word at all. And it's a bummer because it's like there's always word on the Conjuring universe, because every movie is always a
Yeah,
success theatrically. It always makes a lot of money. It's a big world to play in, and it's been almost a year since the last one came out, and we've got not a peep. So
no, I know.
it's kind
And,
of, yeah.
and Warner Brothers has been knocking it out with their horror movies. I mean, the
Yep.
last years.
Well, hey,
So,
we can thank the Batman for the big ass opening weekend that
oh,
it had,
wow. Huge
and
opening weekend.
because it's going to give Warner Brothers a lot more money, and they're going to go, okay, who wants to make another sequel to something? We've got the money. So thank you, Batman, for continuing to keep the lights on at Warner Brothers. We appreciate that.
I still hope for my Man of Steel 2 sequel, Mr. Henry Cavill. I love Superman, so
Yeah.
excited for Batman, but I want a sequel to Man of Steel. Maybe with the success of this, we'll get it. So
Yeah. Trev, I don't think it's dead. Vera Farmiga and Patrick Wilson both said after the third one came out, they both want to continue doing them. And I
which is
think
awesome.
that's the biggest thing. I think if they didn't want to do them anymore, yeah, it might be dead. But they both said, nah, I would love to keep doing this. So the
I think
two
they're gonna
big,
make more.
yeah, they will. I think the reason is, one, Lorraine is dead now. And she had been involved in the making of the first three. And two, I think it is a way of, okay, let's kind of really come up with something that is going to, that's really going to shock people. Like, we want to reinvent the wheel, kind of, because you don't want to get too stale. And I felt like The Conjuring 3 was definitely a nice step in a new direction,
Mm-hmm.
not trying to be too much like the first two movies. So I think they're really trying to think about what's a story of the Warrens that we can really do that's really going to shock some people.
Yeah.
So yeah. Christina, they're actually shooting Scream 6 in Canada beginning early this summer. Yes, that has been confirmed. We don't have an exact date yet that's been at least released to us. I believe it's June. And that'll be filming in Canada. Very excited about that.
Any word on Neb yet? Have they confirmed?
Nev said at a convention last week she's waiting for the another draft of the script to come through.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes through, if she likes it, she'll be back. So I would assume what she's essentially saying is if they don't kill me, yeah, I'll come back. But if she reads the script and they kill her, she's not going to do it because she already said she's not letting Sidney Prescott die.
No,
So,
Sydney does not need to die. I love Sydney. So
yeah. So we're waiting on that, but yeah, that'll happen. She'll be back. Also, I've got an announcement. I've officially booked for the You Need a Horror podcast, guys. I've officially booked Timo Voronsola, director of Jeepers Creepers Reborn. Christian and I will be sitting down with him next weekend for an episode of the podcast, and we're going to pick his brain about the new Jeepers Creepers movie and try to get some news because they haven't given us any damn news. So I'm going to go to the man himself, put him on the spot and say, give us some news. I've also been trying my hardest to get in touch with Radio Silence to try to get them on to talk to them as well. Tyler Gillette, Matt Bettinelli-Olpin, and Chad Villela. I'm trying. I would love to talk to them because once they start filming Scream 6, they're not going to be available for a while. So trying to do that. They've been making their way around the podcast circles, so I'm hoping we can get them. But yeah, very, very excited.
Awesome.
Yeah. So Justin, this has been a great, great chat, my friend. Any closing words you have?
Just a blast as always. This was great talking with you and talking with everybody in the chat. So just thank you all for joining us tonight, joining us this evening. If you guys have not seen it, definitely go check out episode 4 of my Ryan 1988's top 10 horror, and this was my first horror movie memories. And this Saturday, I'm going to be making a comeback with my live streams, and it's a new series that I'm going to be doing called Retrospective and Memories. And the first stream is going to cover 1986's Witchboard. So
there you go. Make sure you guys tune in to Justin's channel.
8 p.m. Eastern time on Saturday.
8 p.m. Eastern time. Yes, Savoy. I love Vera as well. Love her as Norma Bates. Love that show. Bates Motel is my favorite horror TV show of all time. So, and yes, leave a like on the stream if you guys haven't already. If you guys are watching on the playback, let us know in the comments down below what some of your picks are for your 10 Stephen King horror films. And I'm still waiting for Deadpool 3 as well, Christina. I'm still waiting. But Justin, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
I had a great time. We had a great show, and we look forward to seeing you guys next week. Until then, just keep up to date with our uploads that we've got coming this week, and we will see you next week. So thank you so much, and y'all have a great evening.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye. If it'll let me end the broadcast.